Hallo iedereen, welkom bij podcast 137 ondertussen van AFCB. 137 is een verschrikkelijk groot getal. We gaan aan een enorm snel tempo door de podcast op dit moment met de draft en de NFL die onlangs gedaan zijn. We gaan volgens mij sneller door podcast en content dan de helden en heldinnen van Parijs-Roubaix de afgelopen weekend hebben de kasseien verteerd. Maar goed, zoals ik zei, college podcast ook vandaag. Mijn naam is Jens van Hulle, ik zal jullie host zijn. En ik heb de eer om twee echte toppers aan jullie voor te stellen. Twee toppers binnen de wereld van collegevoetbal. We gaan vandaag en in de volgende podcast, het is een tweedelige special, alle prospects die jullie op dag 1 en dag 2 zouden moeten kennen, om jullie favoriete teams waarschijnlijk de best mogelijke speler te doen draften. Ik heb daarvoor twee toppers, zoals ik zei. De eerste is, ja, jullie gekend. Normaal heeft hij zijn heel verdrietige Philadelphia Eagles fan masker aan, maar vandaag heeft hij een ander masker opgezet en dat is die van Hendon Hooker fanboy. Alexis, welkom vanavond of vandaag bij deze podcast. Hoe gaat het?
Alles goed, alles goed. We zullen zien hoe dat verder verloopt.
Ja, beloof dat je, als het over Hendon Hooker gaat, dat je beperkt in tijd.
Ik zal mee proberen in te houden en niet te lovend zijn.
Okay, perfect. And for the second guest, our expert today is Bryce. For those of you who don't know Bryce, the name will probably not ring a bell, but the page that he's the brains and the heart behind Sideline Scout is probably ringing a bell for some of you. I think we're with some of the AFCB panels or fans in the Discord of him, and we've probably shared a few posts of him already. Welcome, Bryce, to the podcast. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, welcome. How are today's days going? Is it still manageable for you to get through all the content you want to present on the page?
Man, I'm be honest with you, it's getting tough because you want to save your good stuff up for the draft. But it's April 8th or 7th, and it's just like, man, do I want to save it another 20 days, or do I want to go ahead and put it out? Because my rankings are done. I got the graphics made, but it's just like, do I want to post them this early? And time the draft comes, people's done forgot about it. So it's getting a little tight. I'm not gonna lie.
You still have a lot of content coming.
Yeah. I try to post at least 2-3 times a day. But my good stuff, I'm trying to save.
The good stuff. Maybe a sneak peek of what we can expect in the coming days.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know the Sideline Scout, I would recommend you going to Facebook and look him up. It's an amazing page providing expert analysis on all prospects in this year's draft, and even during the season, Bryce will provide to you some game film on prospects, updates on everything that's concerning college. So if you want to keep up to date, you're following our page already, and we're going to share all relevant materials. But if you really want to see all details, just go to Bryce's page and you will see everything you will need to know going into the draft. Okay, guys, so as I mentioned, we're here for a deep dive into the prospect, but maybe to get the voices warmed up and everybody ready to go over almost, I think it was 60 prospects I lined up for today. Maybe some quick fire questions to both Alexis and Bryce to get the voices warmed up. So first of all, we're here as a college fan. What do you prefer, a football Sunday or a football Saturday? That's a difficult question.
I think I'd go Saturday. A football Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
You still have a weekend day the day after, so yeah, that's what I like. And also
more drinking.
Yes, it does. But the college, the atmosphere around college is like another level than the NFL.
Yeah, the college, which I don't know. I started watching Red Zone this year. My big thing with Saturday is college. I could sit down at 12 and then watch football till 8 with no interruptions. But I started watching NFL Red Zone this year. I like that setup too. But I think I'd still go Saturday.
Oh yeah, we've been doing that for years. If it's not the Eagles, it's very nice to see all the games.
Okay, question 2. Maybe more of a nuanced question, or maybe a bit of dividing question. Is Georgia on its way to become a bigger dynasty than peak Alabama? If they win like the third championship in a row, would you label them as a bigger dynasty than Alabama ever was, and then Nick Saban?
Coming from a Georgia fan.
Yeah, I'm just asking the question because I'm a subjective Georgia fan now.
Man, I'm a Georgia fan as well, but I don't know if I could say that. Not yet. I think they got a couple more to go to even be close to. I mean, Alabama since I've been watching football, has dominated college football. You know, they're on their way, but I couldn't say yet. No.
I wouldn't count Alabama out yet because Nick Saban always has a few tricks up his sleeve. So I don't I don't know yet.
Yeah, but how long will he still be at Alabama? I think he will stop at some time. So is it going to be in the next decade that Nick Saban will say goodbye to Alabama, or maybe sooner?
I think him and Belichick strike because they're a lot alike. They strike me as the guys they're going to coach until they
Till they
physically are
drop.
unable to. Yeah, they're physically unable to. So
Yeah, I
what's
think so
he?
too.
He is 70, so we don't know. But I think I could see him coaching another decade.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Then maybe the dynasty is not on its way yet. Third question: the best college memory for both of you guys. It's like you could talk about it probably for hours, but maybe off the top of your head, which one is the one you're thinking about right now?
I always have the Michigan game against Michigan State. That was
That's
one of
exactly what I was going to say.
that was one of my first
That was
college
mine too.
games. Yeah, a packed stadium of Michigan fans, and then at the last 10 seconds, they fuck up a punt and they lose, and that's one of the most memorable memories for me.
Yeah, I was watching it with a buddy, and I bet on Michigan because I'm a hardball guy. And but since you said that one, I'll say I think it was 2013, 2012. You know, Auburn returned that. I can't even
Oh
remember what his name is, but he returned the missed kick for 100 yards to win the game in the
Yeah.
Iron Bowl against Alabama. That
Mhm.
that was my second one.
Yeah, the most famous ringtone in college football ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
Okay.
yours,
Great
Jens? What's yours?
I'll have to say Keely Ringo, of course, as a Georgia fan, first championship in a while. So yeah, I'll have to say Keely Ringo off the top of my head. I could probably find another one deep diving, but it's the most recent one I had as well. So I'll say that one.
Okay.
All right. Question 4: are the teams picking 1 and 2 now set? Are the Panthers picking first and the Texans picking second, or are we still seeing some changes coming draft night?
Nah, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Although I am hearing Houston's thinking about passing up on a quarterback, so maybe they move out, or maybe they stay and take Will Anderson Jr. But I think if they trade out to Arizona, get Will Anderson Jr. But no, I don't think there's any more trades.
Yeah, that's
Not
also
those
because
two.
that's why I asked the question, because I actually heard Houston passing up on the second quarterback picked in this draft.
Why would they though? It's like they don't have a good quarterback right now, so what are they going to do if they don't
If they're
draft
not
a QB?
convinced of the second quarterback that falls into their lap, they go into the next draft. I
Yeah.
think that's probably why they would pass upon a quarterback right now.
Yeah, which
So-
I mean, you go ahead.
So you want them to wait until next year for Caleb Williams or Drake May then?
No, I don't say that I need them to. I just say that could be one of the reasons why they would do it.
Okay, could be.
Well, I mean, Stroud. I've said it. People fought me on it, but Stroud's agent is Deshaun Watson's agent.
Yeah.
Stroud doesn't want to go to Houston. From everything I've heard, he doesn't want to go to Houston. So if you can't get Stroud, let's say Bryce Young goes 1. You don't get
Mhm.
Bryce Young, you don't get Stroud. You're down to Richardson and Levis. Do you love Richardson enough to take him second overall? Apparently not. They don't. Or it could just be smoke. You can believe about 10% of everything you hear from the
Indeed.
combine to draft night. But
It keeps the hype alive, though.
yep. I love it, but you can't believe everything you hear. But I don't know. I don't like the idea of waiting the next year because it seems like every year we're like, well, next year's quarterback class will be better. We said that last year about this one, and now this one we're like, oh, next year's quarterback class will be better. You just never know. Drake May could fall off next year. You know.
Yeah, that's true. But this year's quarterback class is better than last year's, I think.
Oh,
So
for
there
sure.
we had Kenny Pickett, but I think Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are a bit better than Pickett. So
And
And
then
that brings us actually to the next question: how many first-round talent QBs do we have in this draft? I'd say 2, but I want to hear you guys' opinions on it.
I'd agree, 2 for me. I don't think Richardson or Levis are first round picks, but QBs are always overvalued in the draft. So yeah, pure talent wise, it's 2 for me.
if you view Richardson as a quarterback, I'd say only 2. But if you view him as just an athlete, I think he's for sure a first round caliber athlete. and then you get the QB bump like Alex was talking about. I'd go 3. I'd say Richardson's 1, just off athleticism alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think we've touched upon the quarterbacks right now. I think we can go ahead and do a deep dive into the quarterbacks right now. And I think logically we're talking first about Bryce Young. I like the most complete prospect in my opinion as well in this draft. He has everything. The only knock you have on this guy is size, and I'm not sure if the size will be this much of a factor in his career. It could be, but I think the size can be overcome regarding Bryce Young. I don't know what you guys think about it.
Yeah, it's tough to predict, I think, his size, but he's just so talented that I'd risk it. It's not something you can't overcome. Like Kyler Murray had a good season or 2, then he kind of fell off the wagon, but it went fine with him. So why wouldn't Bryce Young do it?
Sean Payton was on Colin Cowherd's show about a month ago, and he said when he was working with Parcells had no problem drafting an undersized guy unless he walked on water. That was the only way. He wasn't drafting an undersized guy unless he walked on water, which means he was just head and shoulders above everybody else. And I think Bryce Young is that.
Mhm.
I think I've said it 100 times, if he was 6'2", 215, we're talking about him like we talked about Andrew Luck and Trevor Lawrence. Size isn't a problem to me. I could see it being a problem for some teams picking at the top. But, I mean, he doesn't take a lot of big shots, man. He just doesn't. He's elusive. He's got great pocket presence. I don't see it being a problem.
Yeah, I don't see it either. He doesn't rush a lot either, so it's not that he'll get demolished. Put him behind a good O-line, and I don't see a problem actually.
And without going too much into detail into a mock draft, but I'd like him at the second pick because I would love for the Texans then to pick up a tackle in the first round still, and I think you have good enough talent over there to protect Bryce Young. And everybody's saying, yeah, just go give your guy a toy to play with. But I think in this case you probably go with another type of toy and just give him protection in the first round.
Yeah, but actually I read today that apparently, maybe it's smoke, we don't know. Apparently the Panthers would select Bryce Young. So
And they have a pretty good offensive line.
yeah, indeed. Yeah, they drafted pretty good offensive linemen the last few years. So last year it was
Equano.
Yeah, Equano indeed. So yeah, put him behind that O-line, and he could work his magic if he gets. I'm just thinking, yeah, that they racked up some weapons, didn't they? So they have Hayden Hurst as tight end.
They had Thielen in as well in
and
the offseason.
Thielen indeed. So yeah, it's not the top guys you could get, but they will do fine for the first year, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce Young was working with nothing in Alabama this year,
Yeah,
and they still had a good season.
If you ask people who's a receiver at Alabama this year, I don't think they know
They
names.
couldn't. I promise they couldn't.
They'll just say Jahmyr Gibbs, and
yeah, his best receiver was Jahmyr Gibbs, so that's a running back.
Okay, and I think we now, I think we touched upon the first quarterback, and the second one is pretty clear as well. We'll go over to CJ Stroud, and I don't know, Alexis, what is your opinion on CJ Stroud in this case?
Yeah, of course he's a good football player, but he hasn't proven himself. He only proved himself with very good wide receivers. So he had Smith-Jigba, Wilson, Olave. I don't know if he gets to. So in this case, it would be the Texans. If he gets to the Texans, if he could repeat what he did at Ohio State, because under pressure, except for the Georgia game, under pressure, he always struggled, and I don't know if he'll make the plays immediately in the NFL. He'll need to grow, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people want to jump to the Georgia game, and for some people that's enough. That just proves he can work out of structure and work on the move. But I got a whole season's worth of film telling me he can. So I don't. And Ohio State's wide receivers, they run a lot of option routes too, which means the wide receivers determine the route they're going to run. So he really doesn't have to make crazy reads like pro style reads. I like him a lot. I've comped him to Jared Goff since the beginning. I think that's who he would be, which is not a bad quarterback. Jared Goff had a good season this year, but I think he'd have to have a lot of weapons around him. I don't think he's Bryce Young who can go out there with nothing. I think if C.J. Stroud was on Alabama this year, they're a 5-loss team. If Bryce Young was on Ohio State, they're national champions, no doubt.
Yeah, I remember talking about it with Jens this year during the season because I'm a Penn State fan, so I was analyzing the game beforehand. I was telling Jens if they put pressure on CJ Stroud, they win this game. They couldn't do it, so that's another story.
Yeah.
But during the whole season, you had a feeling if you just pressure CJ Stroud, if you can get through that O-line, you win the game.
Yep.
So
I mean, he was one of the worst quarterbacks under pressure this year. Of the top guys we're going to talk about, he was the worst.
but of course, we can't say all bad things about CJ Stroud. He has a very good arm,
Very good.
of course.
Great.
He's very accurate. So he has a lot of good things also, because otherwise he wouldn't be the number 2 QB on the board.
Oh, no.
So, but
So,
he'll
the purest monster in this year's draft class. So
he'll just need to work on his ability under pressure.
yeah. Which, like I said, a lot of guys will look at George games like, well, there's proof he can do it. We just got to figure out how to do it consistently, and that's enough. But I don't know. I got my questions about him.
Yeah, I think it's more of a it's a risky take in this specific case with CJ. You don't know what you're going to get. You saw the flashes of what he can bring to the table, but if he's more like the beginning of the season CJ Stroud, then probably you wasted a very good first round pick.
Yeah.
Right, and maybe the most debatable, I think, athlete prospect in this entire class. I'm not limiting this to quarterbacks only, but in the first round is this Anthony Richardson. And I mean, I love the guy for being an athlete, but I don't see him as a first round quarterback. I do like him, and as a prospect to give me some flexibility in my offense as well. I think his ability to run opens up a lot of things, and the only thing that really baffles me about the guy is that he has deep accuracy in the middle of the field. He's still fine as well, so intermediate routes, but then he just plainly sucks on the short throws. And I saw you saying that on his pro day, he confirmed everything you knew about him. He's good deep down, he's good in the intermediate, and then he just falls apart when it's coming to short throws. And I'm not sure how coachable is this. How will this translate to the next level? So it's a big what if to me.
It's for sure a what if. That's just kind of my prototype, man. I love those big upside project QBs. I loved Josh Allen, which paid off. I love Malik Willis, who looked like it might not pay off. So it's kind of a live by the sword, die by the sword. But I think everything with Anthony Richardson's fixable. I mean, we got to think this guy started 13 games his whole college career. He's 20 years old. He is 5 years younger than Hendon Hooker. Think about that. So, I mean, I think if you get him out there, he just needs to see more coverages, man. I mean, I've seen the progression. You'd see him misread a coverage one game, and the next game on film, he would make the right read. It's just about getting him to see more coverages, getting more snaps, getting more of those short throws, just more and more practice. I think that's all he needs. To me, that's worth risking it on a first-round pick. That kind of upside, all I got to do is fix his short throws and make him more consistent. Yeah, I'll do that.
I would have liked him to do another season in Florida, though. So
I
liked him at the beginning of the season, and then suddenly he became this big star. Everybody was high on him, but I kind of missed that train, I guess, because I see he's an athlete. He can run. I don't know. He may be the best runner in this class, actually, better than Lamar Jackson. But it's his throws that I'm not that fond of. So to me, he needed another season at Florida to confirm everything we've seen. But yeah, okay, if a team wants him, do it. I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand he's polarizing for sure. You're gonna find guys like me that love him, and you're gonna find guys that hate him, and that's fine. And I'm with you. I love him, and I still want him to go back. I hated the decision to come out, but at the same time, he probably went to the draft advisory board, and they probably gave him a top 10 grade, and they had to. Otherwise, why would he come out?
Yeah, probably. You also see it in the draft analysis. Everybody puts him in the top 10 almost. So except for 1 or 2 mock drafts where he falls, but otherwise he's always projected the top four pick. So
Yeah, and from everything I've heard, he's an extremely intelligent guy, great on the whiteboard.
Mm.
Loves football. I just think he needs more reps. And
Mm.
another year at Florida would have done that, but we don't have that. So
No,
my ideal spot would be Seattle. I've said it a lot. You got Geno there, so he's not forced to start right away. And if he does have to play early, they're a run-heavy team anyway. They're not going to ask him to do a whole lot.
well,
But
what would you think about the Colts getting him? Could you
I like
start
that.
Minshew for a year?
I would start Minshew for you, yeah. Unless you just want to throw him out there. I mean, you got Shane Steichen coming from Philadelphia, run a similar system to what they did with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, indeed.
Until he can develop into that kind of passer you want him to be. I would at least start Minshew until Thanksgiving if you're going to do that.
Yeah, it's an interesting player to follow this year, that's for sure. He's, like you said, he's very young, so he could develop into a very good player. He'll need to prove me wrong. Not that
Yeah.
he owes me anything, but yeah, I'd like to see it.
Yeah, but I think it would just be the case of both fans and the team being patient with him. Like as you say, I wouldn't start him until at least Thanksgiving. So
Yeah, I
give him the
think
time, and even if he starts right away, suppose he goes to the Colts and they bench Minshew for him. If he has a few bad games, just it's not
I
a
think
bad pick per
if they
se.
start
So
him right away and he does pan out in the beginning, I think he'll get burned very fast by fans around the league. So you don't want that with this guy, I think.
yeah,
You need
that's
to
what I'm
give him
saying. We
time.
just have to be patient.
Mm.
Everybody is going to have to be patient, and
But
the next prospect we'll have is
of
going to be
course,
the same case.
that won't happen. You know that won't happen. If he starts and he does bad, he won't get the time.
Yeah, but it's hard to tell fans to do that. Fans are short fanatics. They're crazy about their team. So it's hard to get fans to see patience. But a lot of first-year quarterbacks just aren't good. It's rare for guys to come out and just light it up. Trevor Lawrence sucked his first year, which he did have Urban Meyer. And so maybe he's forgivable. But, a lot of guys don't come out and light it up right away. It's a totally different speed of the game from college. But
Yeah. I think the next one I just quickly highlighted, Will Levis is the next one on our board. It's like one of those prospects as well, which you know what he brings to the table, but you also have a few knacks on him in which you say, okay, I'm not really that high on him. I think the funny thing to me is Will Levis started as quarterback 3 in this draft to me in like after the season, and he's been dropping, man, and I'm not really sure if he'll go round 1 because I hear he's been bombing interviews from time to
yeah,
time. But yeah, I do like him. He has an elite arm, and you can say that although maybe you didn't see everything on tape you want to see, his O line sucked and his receiver had drops all the time. So you can say that about him. So
Mm.
that's maybe good for him.
Yeah,
But you also see what he doesn't bring. Still a bit raw. The timing is off, his motion is off, and I think he only had about 7 big throws in 2022, which could be yeah explained by his O line. But yeah, on the other hand, if you're creative enough, you just make something happen.
he's also mobile, so he can run the ball too. So that's a good option that you have when you take Will Levis. You can I'm sorry. You can have a read pass options. You can have a run play. So that's a bit Richardson, but then less of a runner. So yeah, I think he's not a first round pick, but he's definitely a second round pick. So if a team wants to wait, like the Vikings, I am thinking of the Vikings. If Will Levis falls, I think you have to take the shot at him.
Man, I don't know. I hear he's a weird guy. He likes mayonnaise in his coffee, and which blew me away. I love mayonnaise as much as the next person, but God knows if I put it in coffee or anything like. Because he's
have
scared.
have you tried it since?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's scared of milk, is what he said. He does not trust milk, and that's why he puts mayonnaise in his coffee. So you wonder how a guy like that is going to get around. That's let's say a guy walk into your place of work right there, and you seen him putting mayonnaise in his coffee. Are you going to talk to that guy, or are you going to actively avoid him? I'm going to actively avoid him. I don't want to talk to him. And you wonder how a guy fits like that in the locker room. But in the same time, everybody says his teammates and coaches love him. I don't know. My big thing with him is he's 23 as opposed to Anthony Richardson being 20. He's an older guy. He couldn't beat out Sean Clifford at Penn State. Always hung me up. That always hung me up. I'm like, what? Sean Clifford's not going to sniff an NFL roster, and you couldn't beat him out. And maybe it was politics. I don't know. The big thing he has going for him, he's played under 2 offensive coordinators that ran pro-style systems. So it's not going to be a learning curve when he goes to the NFL. He's going to know how to operate in a pro-style system. He just plays a lot of hero ball to me. His process isn't good. He doesn't make good decisions.
But didn't he make good decisions because he didn't make the good decisions, or because he thought, oh well, fuck it, I'm frustrated here because nothing works on this offense, I'm just going to throw it out there.
He made some of his bad decisions on his 2021 tape when the team was good. When he had Darian Kennard and Wan'Dale Robinson. And it seems like they just didn't improve from 2021 to 2022. So I just think it's a processing thing. And I don't. His team was crap. Him and Anthony Richardson both. Their receivers didn't do them any favors. But like I said, my big hang up is he's 23. Anthony Richardson. So by the time their contracts run out, Anthony Richardson's going to be 24. He's going to be 27, right at 28. That's a big difference.
I don't know. Should that matter?
That matters to me. If you got in a contract and I got a 24-year-old, I'd be willing to maybe rock it with him another 1 or 2 years. But a 28-year-old, no, I'll let him hit the open market.
Okay. Yeah, but then on the other hand, you had a cheap QB for 4 years who may have been so. Yeah.
I mean, and I've heard people say age doesn't matter to certain scouts and coaches. It just matters to me. It's
fine.
Maybe it's playing from playing Madden and your players start going to crap after 27. I don't know, but
But I was just wondering why PFF actually has him as the second QB.
Mike Renner
before CJ Stroud.
Yeah, Mike Renner really loves him. It's kind of shocked me when Mike had him that high. Kind of just everything everybody's been. Mike's an upside guy like me, and he just sees a better thrower. Levis is a better thrower than Richardson is right now. Likes how the ball comes off his hands. Kind of like what we were all already harped on. His receivers didn't do him any favor. He had a bad offensive line. Just kind of like Richardson, he's polarizing. You're going to have some people love him, some people hate him.
Yeah, he definitely has an NFL arm. So.
Oh, yeah. No doubt there. He's got a big arm.
Yeah, and maybe the guy, we're talking about age, the guy with the biggest age argument over here, and I already mentioned we have a big Hendon Hooker fanboy. Hendon Hooker, man. I mean, I love them at Tennessee, but I think Alexis can explain a little bit better why Hendon Hooker was amazing at Tennessee.
Yeah, well, it's just I was a fan of Tennessee before the season started, but then I didn't expect this performance, and Hendon Hooker was the epitome of what they did. So he was the most important player in that offense. Of course, he was lucky he got someone like Jalen Hyatt who could catch his deep balls, but that's something he did. He threw deep balls, not always that accurate, but if you have someone like Jalen Hyatt who can catch them, it's fine. So he read all the mismatches with the cornerbacks or the safeties. Like I remember the Alabama game. It's Jalen Hyatt goes on vertical, and it's Battle or Branch, one of the two, that he just misread the play, and that's what Hendon Hooker saw. So yeah, that's what I like about him. But he won't run the ball downfield, but he can make plays with his legs, so he can get 1 or 2 yards needed. So the combination of that with his ability to throw short and to throw long is what I liked about Hendon Hooker. But don't get me wrong, his deep passes can be shaky sometimes. So yeah.
Man, I'll say I love Hendon Hooker the person. He seems like a nice guy, but not as a prospect, man. I can't get behind it. I mean, we already touched on I don't like older players. He's 25 with an ACL tear, so let's say at the earliest he's going to play is 26 and a half. Tennessee ran like a air raid type system. nothing that's going to translate to the NFL. He had to make a lot of half-field reads. He never had to read the full field. So I got a 26-year-old quarterback who I had to teach a pro-style offense to. Now, he could catch on quick, but...
So where would you take him if you're a team? 3rd round, 4th round?
I said he wouldn't be I said I wouldn't take him in the top 100.
Okay. So after the 4 we just talked about, so Young, Levis, Stroud, Richardson, is Hendon Hooker the first QB you take, or is it someone else?
Tanner McKee.
Tanner McKee, okay. Yeah, okay. I understand that.
Yeah, he's got experience. Well, I mean, we'll talk about him later.
Yeah, well, I was actually going to ask him, and wrapping up maybe the quarterbacks, the one that's been not mentioned today, and I would have said Tanner McGee as well, but you were going to say something about Tanner McGee, so I'll let you just go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say he's got experience in a pro-style offense with Stanford run. Does not put the ball in danger. His receivers are just crap. He didn't have Michael Wilson most of the year. Elijah Higgins, they're talking about moving him to tight end because he couldn't separate. Not actively mobile, but I like Tanner McKee a lot. I'd take Tanner McKee in a second.
Yeah, that's where I saw him going as well.
I remember when we were during the season, Tanner McKee was like the 3rd QB they were talking about, and suddenly nobody talks about Tanner McKee anymore. I was just wondering why.
People were really caught up that he just... You remember Carson Strong? Where was Carson Strong? Last year in Nevada? Yeah.
He came to the Eagles.
Yeah, just a statue in the pocket. That's kind of the big knock on McKee. He's not creating outside of structure. He's a drop back pocket passer, which is, just not a thing anymore.
So that's why suddenly he fell off the board, because I think even Aiden O'Connell is above him right now.
I'm not with that. But yeah, I'd say why.
I don't mean for me personally. I just
yeah. I know what you mean. I've seen that a lot too. And I mean, he didn't have the best tape this year, but like I said, like we said about these last few guys, he did not get help out at all by the people around him.
Yeah, indeed. He had no one. We talked about Will Levis having no one, but Tanner McKee
had no one.
Yeah, absolutely no one. Yeah, I think now smoothly transition to the guys who could have helped him. I think wide receivers wise, I think there's a lot of movement in this position, like who's going to be number 1, and I think it's going to depend heavily on who's picking. But yeah, in my opinion, I'm going Quentin Johnson, and I mean, I'll follow it TCU, and Alexis can attest to that. I was a big TCU rooter during the season, like not preseason.
Bandwagon.
I'm not saying it's bandwagon, but I like.
Yeah, you were.
I think Bryce, you already probably know it. You can have a discussion with somebody, and then you're on opposite sides, and the more you talk about it, the more you kind of get extreme in your points of discussion. And suddenly we were like pretty close to TCU could be a good team. Not really sure. Alexis said they're a bad team, and then
we're pretty close to me saying TCU is the worst team in football, and pretty close to Jens saying they're the best team in football. That's where we got suddenly.
Yeah, I think that's where the season ended, and then you had the Georgia game, and then everything fell into his place. But I mean, Quentin Johnson, I love the guy, and he's the biggest wide receiver prospect in the 1st round or 2nd round you're gonna have. So if you want a tall wide receiver, you go Quentin Johnson, TCU. No, you don't hesitate if you like these guys and what he brings to the table as well. He has some speed to separate. He's athletic as well. Has a big catch radius, or at least let's say above average. The only thing, the production he had at TCU was maybe not that great, but I think you could maybe make the argument that Max Duggan didn't really have or didn't really take or used him as much as he could have. Like he had a lot of routes in which he was open that Max Duggan just didn't take it. But I don't know what your guys' take is on this.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I got 3 guys, wide receiver 1. He's one of them. That could be a wide receiver 1. Although, like you said, the advantage, he's the biggest wide receiver in the 1st round. He's the prototypical X, where you got J.S. Sansmore probably going to be a slot. I think that's the advantage he has over him. A little inconsistent. That bothers me. But that's about it. And everything else I love about him.
Yeah, it's the same for me. He's also the first receiver on my list. Also because Jackson Smith and Jigba is more of a slot receiver, like you said, and I like Johnson's size and speed a bit more than I do JSN. But yeah, there's a lot of other guys too. But I think Quentin Johnson is the better prospect of them.
Yeah, he's 6'3", 208, and I think that's if you like big wide receivers, you go Quinn Johnson. But as you said, we have a lot of other guys, and I'm curious to
But
see which.
you can also like put an asterisk next to his name because in the big games against Georgia, for example,
Yeah.
he didn't show up. So
The consistency, that's what you got to
Mm.
see from him.
Yeah.
Indeed. So we'll need to see if I don't know if he's like we did a mock draft and I picked Johnson at 12 for the Texans. But I don't know if he's already worth that 12th spot in the draft actually.
I think you just draft wide receiver in the first round because you need it, not because necessarily they're first round talents. And I think some of them could be, but I'm not really sure. Like the wide receiver class this year it's like the depth is big, but there's no real one guy showing up like as the clear cut wide receiver one, and that's
Yeah,
maybe the
and
issue they have with this class.
the depth is big, but not like in the later rounds, I think.
Yeah, the top isn't great. I had a guy the other day tell me that JSN was going top 10. I was like, dude, I don't see a wide receiver going top 20 in this class. I think from 21 on, you could start to see a run from 21 to the second round. I think that's where the value's at. But like you said, if they need a receiver, you take one because he's there. But I don't really see a top 20 wide receiver in this class.
Who do you have as your second wide receiver on the board, Bryce?
Well, no, I misspoke. Now, JSN is my number one. I love JSN.
Okay, yeah.
Then I got Johnston 2, but I've been swapping him and Zay Flowers for a while. I really like Zay Flowers. I like what he brings to the table.
Yeah, also I'm wondering, like Zay Flowers, he played at Boston College, was very loyal because he stayed there for 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. So he had the opportunity to go. He just stayed there. Even if he knew the QB would be shit. But he showed very good things. So that's I'm very curious to see what he can do at the next level.
He put up 1,100 yards with Phil Jurkovec as his quarterback. You know, that was enough for me right there.
The only reason we know Phil Jurkovic's name is because of Zay Flowers.
So yeah, you might give Johnson the edge because of size, but man, Zay Flowers is exciting.
Yeah, his size is a little short for an NFL receiver, but we just talked about Bryce Young. That wouldn't be a problem. I think Zay Flowers can break through that too.
Yeah, it's just, man, he's just in the open field. He's so elusive. He's got good contact balance. A lot of times he doesn't go down when he first gets hit, or he'll either take the hit and find a way out of it, or he'll just make the guy miss. I said it a lot. Antonio Brown is just who I see when I'm watching the tape. Now, some people said that was ridiculous. Other people said, man, I kind of see it too. I'm not saying he's going to be Antonio Brown. I'm just saying that's kind of who he looks like when I watch him.
I hope he's a bit smarter than Antonio Brown.
Yeah, and I want to say as well that I did like him in interviews. Like I saw him on a podcast with Brett Coleman, I think it was, and I really liked his attitude over there. Like smart guy, and he knows what he's talking about. So I really like him in that regard as well. And then
he really transformed his body too. I don't know if you guys seen that from
he had
last season when he got to the Shrine Bowl. He really transformed his body. Yeah, 10 pounds of muscle. He was a totally different guy.
To me that shows he's very committed. So there's nothing not to like about him. So as a second wide receiver, you could think about Zay Flowers.
And we mentioned your first wide receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Why do you have him as number one in this class?
Man, just JSN's production, you can't deny it. He's probably gonna be a slot guy at the next level, and he doesn't have great top end speed. But, I mean, he had some of the best 3-cone and short shuttle times I've ever seen. Which is, you think about 3-cone, it's an L drill, boom, boom, boom. That's just route running, and that's the drill I pay most attention to with wide receivers. It's a 3-cone drill, and I think he had like a 6, maybe a sub 6'7", which is ridiculous. And and you can't deny his production on the field. I mean, not this year, but the year before. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, JSN was the best receiver of those three that season.
Indeed.
Um,
Aren't you a little worried about his injuries though? Because last year he played 3 games and
yeah, I think he was really just protecting himself. Which, I mean, I got no problem with that. We talked about, I do like Zay Flowers staying at Boston College. We talked about that, but at the same time, man, say if he goes out and hurts himself worse, he's costing himself money.
yeah, that's true. Of course, that's
So
I understand it.
I think that was a lot of it. I think he was protecting himself more than he was just so hurt he couldn't play.
Okay. Yeah, no, of course, Jackson Smith in Jigba is a very good wide receiver. Don't get me wrong. But like you said, the slot receiver position, he'll probably get used as a slot receiver in the NFL.
Yep.
And that's probably why I have Johnson above Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Bryce.
Oh no, I wasn't saying anything. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying maybe those are like the top 3 prospects we have in this class, I think. Then for me personally, it's just below that you have Jordan Addison, the guy from USC. I mean, the Biletnikoff winner at Pitt, transferred to USC, had a good season. But the thing was, people expected him to run faster at 40, right, than he did. I think he ran a 4.49.
Yeah.
What was expected of him at the combine?
Man, that's about what I expected him to run. I called him all year, said he was Devontae Smith. Nothing about him is just like crazy athletic. Nothing about when I watch Jordan Addison pops off the screen. Same with CeeDee Lamb. You say CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Smith. He just gets open. He just makes plays. Nothing's crazy. Nothing's like, oh man, that guy's crazy fast. So I thought maybe hit 4.45 to 4.5. That was about the range I had him in. But I mean, I went back and watched his 2021 tape a couple of nights ago, and with Kenny Pickett, and the dude was dominant. He was dominant. I mean, you can't deny his production. Slot only, I think, because of his size and lack of top end speed. But the guy just gets open. The guy's going to find the opening in the zone. He's going to make plays.
Yeah, it's the same for me too. I just was thinking about his strengths. I'd like to see him add some strength because I feel when he gets contact, when he gets into contact, he's not that good anymore. So yeah.
But the guy is like 173, which puts him in the 3rd percentile. I mean, like.
Yeah, of course, but you could also always add to it.
Yeah, there's a couple guys in this class that is just tiny guys. Tank Dell, another one I like, but he was 165, which is Jesus.
Yeah, but the one thing you could always add weight, but what's the downside of that? Like adding weight in one will lead to some plays you will have to compensate a little bit.
But I'm not really
sure.
He's not the fastest guy, so he doesn't need to worry about that speed getting diminished if he's used as a slot receiver, I think, because if you can just elude the block, the tackles they are trying to make, that's more important to me as a slot receiver than that burst of speed.
I mean, I just don't get the argument. I've never got the argument that you can always just add weight. I mean, how much weight could he really add? I mean, he spent the last 4 years at Division I programs with, especially USC is going to have top of the line strength training, top of the line diet plans, and he's still only 173. I mean, how much better nutrition and stuff is he going to get in the NFL? He might can get to 180. I don't think he's ever going to be 185 plus.
Yeah, but like Devontae Smith was the Slim Reaper.
Yeah,
he added some muscle being with the Eagles, so that's what I'd like to see him do.
Yeah, he could do, but I mean, like, how much can he actually add?
Yeah, how much can you add for you to start sacrificing speed?
Of course, he'll never be the biggest guy. That's not what I wanted to say. But
that was the argument with Bryce Young, right? He weighed in a little bit over 200 at the combine. Like but what's his playing weight? I think the same thing can be said of Jordan Addison. What's his playing weight going to be? The Slimmer Reaper is maybe his nickname in the coming NFL, but like we'll see. But we had for now maybe for sake of time, we'll not do a deep dive that down anymore. But what's another prospect in the wide receiver room class you really like, or you maybe see as a nice pickup in later rounds?
Tank Dell, I think I mentioned him earlier, out of
Yeah.
Houston. I like Tank Dell a lot. Tank Dell is the most sudden athlete in this class. I think he might be one of the better athletes in this class. And in a class lacking a lot of top end athleticism, I think you can see a guy, even though he's 165 pounds, you can see him go in that second round. I mean, when I watch him play, man, the corners look like their feet are in concrete trying to cover him. He's 2 steps ahead of him at any given time. I mean, and he put up 1,400 yards and 17 touchdowns this year.
I saw him mocked in the first round. I think it was actually to the Eagles.
I could see it. I mean, he's just 5'10", 165. I think he ran 4.49. But his game isn't straight line speed, man. It's just how quick he can get in and out of breaks is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you value him more than Josh Downs?
No, I wouldn't say that. I do like Josh Downs a lot, but everybody knows Josh Downs. I wanted to bring up Tank Dell.
Yeah, no problem, no
problem. I love Josh Downs. I think can go back in the first round. I like Josh Downs a lot, even though I hate UNC. I'm a Duke fan, but I like Josh Downs a lot.
Where's my jersey?
I think this is a rivalry starting to come alive over here. Okay.
Yeah, no, I like the Josh Downs Drake May combination a lot this year. So just curious to see what he can do.
We'll see. On to running backs, where we I think have the most exciting prospect in this upcoming draft, Bijan Robinson. I mean, like, does the guy need an explanation anymore? I'll leave the floor to you, Bryce, to give people a quick rundown on who Bijan Robinson is. But I think like enough words and were written on it already.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you say about him? The dude has everything you look for. He's one of the most complete backs I've ever seen. Good vision, good enough speed. He's just smooth in everything he does. He makes guys miss. I mean, you could put together a 25-minute video of Bijan Robinson making people miss behind the line of scrimmage. Unquestionable RB1. I've heard people call him generational. I don't think I'd call him generational, but he is a tremendous back. If any back's worth taking in the first round, it's Bijan Robinson.
How do you compare him to Saquon Barkley when he came out of college?
I think Saquon's twice the athlete. Saquon, I mean, people forget how incredible Saquon was at Penn State and how great of an athlete he was, and he is.
I mean, so you'd probably take Saquon over Bijan.
Yeah, for sure. And though I love Bijan, but I mean, would you even take Bijan over Zeke coming out? That's the question.
Right now, I would.
No. 2016 Zeke, when he still had abs versus 2022 Bijan.
Yeah, that's a tough one, actually.
That's the question for me. Where would you rank them? I might would give the edge to Bijan, but it's so close. Those are the two that's close to me.
Yeah, I love Bijan as well, but like, you can debate on it for hours, I think, but he could go if the draft is done correctly. He could go top 10, top 5 in talent wise. You go pick him up in the top 5, but people hate running backs in the early first round, and I see him going in the after 20, and I like the landing spot Dallas for him or Buffalo, but I don't see him going past Buffalo.
Yeah, I think he could go earlier too.
It's just another thing. It's just the deepest running back class I've ever seen. There's 15 guys I think could end up having really good careers. So I mean, if he was in last year's class, he'd be a top 10 pick maybe. But
do you think the running back class is the best one we have this year?
Yeah,
I think it is the best one I've seen since I've been doing this, no doubt.
Like a short while ago, we were like looking for the running backs, and it was a list of 10 running backs, and suddenly Jens told us in the podcast, if that guy isn't even on the list, that tells you how deep this running back class is. I think it was Sean Tucker that wasn't on the list or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's even if you don't get Bijan in the second or third round, you'll get a lot of value as a running back too. Not a Bijan, but enough running backs.
Yeah, I mean, would you rather have Bijan at 15th overall or Zach Charbonnet at the middle of the second round?
I'd love
Yeah,
Zach
Yeah.
in the middle of the second. I'd really
yeah.
love
Indeed, I was actually going through Zach Charbonnet 2 days ago, and it just didn't strike me that he was that good until I went through him again. So yeah, indeed, if you can get Zach Charbonnet in the second round, okay, you didn't get Bijan, but that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not. I'm like I said, I'm of that group. I don't mind Bijan Robinson going top 10, and I don't mind him going. I get both sides of where we go, but yeah, Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet would have been one of the top backs last year. I don't know why he went back to school, but I mean, he had another stellar season. Really put no doubt that he's a great back. Just great vision. He's a fun watch.
I think he's like, if you put it in like what he can do, he can maybe be the more complete back that we can expect in the coming rounds. I think the other running backs each have like one specific thing they excel at. Like Jahmyr Gibbs is a pass catcher,
Yeah.
but like Zach Charbonnet to me
But
is like
he can
this
catch
early-
passes too. So
Yeah. Zach Charbonnet is day one starter type running back. Like you're 3 down back from day one.
yeah, I believe so too. He's just he can run and he can catch the ball. He's very big. He has a lot of power. What do you want from a running back? I think that's what I want from my running back.
Yeah.
Does it is it a negative to you that he's not really excelling at one thing specifically, or do you more like him as a complete profile?
I like him as a complete profile. I mean, especially, he's not being talked about to middle of the second to third round. I mean, so it's not like you're investing a lot in him. But no, I mean, I like a complete back. I always have. I don't like the special. I mean, I like Gibbs. I think Charbonnet is what you think about when you think about a running back. To me.
Yeah, indeed. To me, it's the same.
Yeah.
Like when I see a running back, I think of Derrick Henry, and then
Jonathan Taylor, and then I go back and I think about Adrian Peterson. Not putting him on Adrian Peterson, but just guys that they can do anything. They do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Jahmyr Gibbs is a very good running back, but I think Zach Charbonnet just has that edge a little more than Jahmyr Gibbs to me.
Yeah, well, maybe moving on then to Jahmyr Gibbs. I like him as a third running back in this class. If I were to draft the running backs, I'd like Charbonnet a little bit better because he's more complete. But what Jahmyr brings is like off the charts. He's the best pass catching running back in this specific class, and I really like him. He was the top weapon for Bryce Young at Alabama. So he
He's the
had a lot
reason.
of tape to put forward on pass catching. But the only thing, like his size is something that really bothers me and made me put him at 3 because I think I have somewhere over here. He's 199, which put him in the 14th percentile in running backs, and he's 5'9", which put him in the 25th. So yeah, he's one of the smaller running backs. He's not small per se, but he's a little smaller than you would like your running back to be, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. So
yeah, I mean, with a guy's 199, he kind of becomes scheme dependent. You're not going to run a guy like that between the tackles, and that's what separates Charbonnet can run between and outside the tackles. Gibbs is more of a weapon. That's kind of how I see it. Maybe a lot of people like to say Alvin Kamara. I see a lot more Jamal Charles, who was excellent, but he was an outside zone type of runner. I think that's what Gibbs would be. Yep.
Yeah.
And if you compare their RAS scores, it's very similar.
Was it?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the size also knocks him down a little as a in the pass protection scheme. So it's indeed, as you say, he's more like a weapon to a quarterback, a very good weapon. So let's not undervalue him as a pass catcher. I really like him, but I like him a little bit more in short downs, third down, short distance, and maybe have an extra threat for the quarterback. I like him in this position, but in every down quarterback, I'm not really seeing it in him.
I have a little question about the size of the running backs. So Deuce Vaughn is a very small running back and a member of our team of AFCB, Dirk. isn't too fond of Juice Vaughn. He says he'll never make it in the NFL. I was just wondering what you think about that, because I remember Darren Sproles having a fine career and being small too.
Yeah, no, the Deuce Vaughn will find a role in the offense. Make no mistake about it. He's one of those guys. I'm not gonna say he can't make it in the NFL, because I think in 5 years saying that you look crazy. I mean, it's not crazy because of his size, but man, that guy's foot speed, his quickness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's what I love about him.
There's just no way he doesn't find some. Now, is he every down back? No,
No,
probably
indeed.
not. But man, as a third down, change of pace back, yeah, I think he for sure could have like a 10-year career in that role.
Yeah, I was just curious about that, because I liked him too at K-State. So it would be a shame not to see him doing something in the NFL.
Yeah, maybe talking about smaller backs, Devon A-Chain. I mean, the guy. If you talk about A-Chain, you talk speed. Like, the guy is legit. I think it was what's his 40.
I
It
can't
was a
think of
little. It was a little slower than people expected, but I was in the 4.3s. So
Yeah, it was still like 4.36 or 4.38, something like
yeah,
that. Maybe 4.3, somewhere in that range. But no, I mean, you
yeah, a
look at
little
the
slower than, but still
yeah,
legit good 40. But then, yeah, Devon A-Chain, he's like 179, 5'5", or 5'5" and a quarter, which puts him in both 0th percentiles. And I mean, he's like a very scheme specific running back. He can only do a certain amount of things. You're never going to use him as a in pass protection. But I mean, the speed is off the chart. And I think if we're talking about running backs that do have one specific trait that jumps out, I think Devon A-Chain is maybe the best example out there with the speed.
Well, I think you can take A-Chain again, like we talked about Deuce Vaughn, as a third down running back. Gets you the speed. He won't be the 3 down running back, but he can bring something more to your offense in that position.
yeah, man. I mean, if you got speed like A-Chain's got, NFL teams are going to find a place for him. I mean, maybe his 40 time wasn't what people thought it was going to be, but I mean, there's no doubt when you watch him on tape that his game speed is insane. I mean, the dude looks like he gets shot out of a cannon every time he takes off. I will be honest, he isn't as high on my board as he was early in the year, just because you had so many great backs popping up throughout the year. But
Yeah, and also A&M was a bit of a disappointment, so that
yeah,
may have
that probably soured me a little bit too. But no, speed kills. There's a reason people reach on speed. There's a reason people reached on John Ross. When you got speed like that, you take it and you find a place for it somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good running back to take. Not if you're looking for a running back one though.
No, but if he's available in like the late third round, early fourth round, yeah.
Yeah, he could have a role like the Eagles play with Boston Scott and damn, I forgot the name of the third running back. But yeah, they change up a lot, and that's a role.
Man. And I love that guy coming out too. I know you're talking about for the Eagles, and I can't. Yeah,
Gainwell.
Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. I forgot his name. That's a shame for me.
You said you had him a little bit lower than you initially thought you would have him, or at the
Yeah.
start.
I
Is
think.
he?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you who's running back for, but I think we had the first three covered already. So I think it's now just a matter of finding out who's for you.
4 for me is Tank Bixby out of Auburn.
Yeah.
I love Tank. I think he's one of the most not talked about running backs in his class. Powers. I mean, of course, he got power. His name's Tank, but
Yeah.
power, speed. He's got good footwork. He's got good vision. He was the only bright spot on that dumpster fire that Auburn was this year. He's got prototypical size. I think he's 6 foot, a little over 215 pounds.
Indeed. And also his speed is fine. He ran a 4.56. It's not A-Chain level. He's not the fastest guy, but he's not slow.
To be 215 plus, that's moving.
Yeah,
That's
indeed.
moving.
That's not slow at all. So yeah, I like him too as a fourth running back.
Yeah, me as well. I'm not sure if I have him as running back 4, but then the drop off after 3 is maybe a little bit too big to me to just be clear cut number 4. But yeah, Tank Bigsby, what he brings, I like it as well. Good build, and scheme versatile, which is something that you like most of the times, as when you draft
Absolutely.
a running back, that you can use them in a lot of different ways instead of like Devon A Chain or Jameer Gibbs. You're going to use them in one specific way. But like Tank Bigsby is going to be used in a lot of different types of offenses, so I think that's good thing for him. I think I know why he's number 4 on your board. Like, let's see. As I think I heard you saying a lot of times already. Half of these prospects are never going to do anything, and the
Mm.
other half is just going to be average. And then you have the cream of the crop who are going to be excellent.
Yep.
So that let's see. I'm not
Just
sure.
maybe I have one last question about the running backs. What do you think of Tyjae Spears? Because at the beginning of the season, I actually didn't know his name, and then when the season developed, his name popped up a few times, and
I started watching a lot of Tulane games because I thought they were a good team. They come on my local cable all the time.
Mm.
I watched it for Dorian Williams, the linebacker. I'm really high on him. And then it wasn't around October. I was like, dude, every time I turn on this game, this Spears kid is just dominating. What?
yeah,
I started watching more and more, and he was one of my guys heading into the off season. I thought would stay under the radar, but of course he didn't. Yeah, speed, contact balance. I mean, the guy just he gets hit, and it's just like he bends all the way down and just pops back up and keeps going. Good contact balance, elusive in the open field, good long speed. It's a lot to like about Spears. He's a little smaller side, not great at pass protection, but I mean, he's 5'11". He's got a good frame. He's 200. I think if you get to 205, 210, be solid enough to be a every down back.
yeah.
Maybe. Yeah,
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Alex.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was actually going to move on to a different prospect, so I think if you still have something on that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just like Tyjae Spears. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and now we're on prospects we do like in I'm not saying later rounds for DJ Spears, but like a prospect I'm really looking forward to is Israel. I'm going to try to pronounce his last name by
Abanikanda.
Abanikanda. Well, I thought I was getting there. But like I like him a lot. Stats wise, he was one of the most productive running backs this year at Pitt. Has good frame. Is like 215, 5'11". So that's your prototypical size of a quarterback. I like him a lot. Maybe as a late round pickup for a team who's looking into getting a kind of complete running back, maybe a little bit down in the pass catching area, but still, I think he's good enough to be picked up on a day 3. Or do you see him as a day 2 pick? Because some boards have him pretty high as well.
I've had him as RB5 since the season, and I love Abanikanda. I mean, every time I watched him, he was breaking off a long run, and then that game against Virginia Tech, he went for like 300 yards and 5 touchdowns, some crazy stat line like that. And I'm just now seeing him start to get hyped because, he ran 4.41 in this pro day. But, I mean, he's 20 years old. He's got under 400 carries on him in his college career, not a lot of tread on the tires, good speed, prototypical size. He probably is a day 3 guy, but I wouldn't be mad with him going day 2. I like Abanikanda a lot.
Yeah, me as well. And for the guys at home, 400 reps is not that a lot if you compare it to a few prospects in this draft we've already discussed. Jacques Charbonnet has over 600. So
I think Abanikanda is at like 320 for his career because this was really his first year starting full time.
Yeah. All right.
One other running back that kind of popped into my head was Chase Brown, because I remember his stats being like crazy. He had like 1,600 yards, I think. So what do you think about Chase Brown? I don't see him as a big top 10 running back, but I'd like him in like round 5, round 6.
That's probably about right where we go. I like Chase Brown a lot. I think he is a little small. And then I don't know where to feel about him because he's in that range of like, it's such a deep class. It's hard to rank them guys when you get past like RB5. I wouldn't be mad at him if somebody had him like RB6. I have him at like RB11. I like Chase Brown a lot.
I have him lower too, but it's just a name that popped into my head because he had like crazy yardage this season.
A guy to keep a name out for is Roshan Johnson, though. That would be my late round pick. Backed up Bijan Robinson most of his time in his career, but Roshan Johnson would have started at any other school in the country. He just happened to be behind Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
That's my late round name to keep an eye on. I think Roshan Johnson could have success sooner rather than later in the NFL.
Yeah, he's also quite big, so the
Yeah,
running
like
back we were talking about before.
6'1", 220, something like that.
Yeah, indeed.
I think this is just a testament. I'm not sure how long we were talking about running backs, but I think you could still go on for another half an hour about all these prospects, and we were keeping it pretty short.
Yeah.
So looking at the time, we're already at 105. But like the running back class is so deep. As I say, you could go on it for a few more.
Yeah.
For a few more minutes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Every team who needs a running back will get one in this draft.
That's a good thing. But maybe then onto a class that's quite deep as well. I like the tight end class. Not sure who you have as tight end one. I think there's a lot of discussion on it as well. I think you have two, Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer. I think most of them have Kincaid as tight end one.
Yeah.
Mayer sometimes go first, but I think sometimes it could be just to fuel the fire a little bit and get the hype. But I like this tight end class as well. I think the discussion we had, Alexis, on the previous podcast was maybe this is the second best class in this upcoming draft.
Yeah.
Maybe because of just the top is that good. What you get in these five guys we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, it's not that deep. It's just 5 very good tight ends. So if you want a tight end, you'll get value in those guys. Yeah, Dalton Kincaid. You can take him if you want a tight end that blocks a lot. So you have to take him for his pass catching ability, because otherwise you'll be disappointed, I think. But yeah, he's the first tight end on my board exactly because of his pass catching ability. He has speed. He had strong production with Utah, and he's still young, so he can still learn a lot. He won't be the greatest blocker at the next level, but if that's not what you're looking for in a tight end, that's completely fine.
If I'm not mistaken, Kincaid's an older prospect. I think he's like 25. If I'm not mistaken, you want to fact check me on? I think he's an older guy.
Maybe I didn't look. He's 23.
23. Yeah, he's a little bit of an older guy. I got Mayer as number one, just kind of what you talked about. I think he's more complete. I think he can block if you need him to and be a receiving threat. But Kincaid's two, and I don't mind anybody that has him one. I understand it. Just you get the more complete player in Mayer.
Yeah, it was a toss-up actually the whole year, Kincaid or Mayer. In the beginning was Mayer, then suddenly Kincaid, maybe because Notre Dame was not that good. He was the only bright spot, you could say. But yeah, I finished with Kincaid on top.
Yeah, I think he started as tight end 4 for me, Kincaid, and then Mayer was number 1. And I don't even remember. I had a Reed Gilbert number 2. That's why Kincaid moved up.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, Reed Gilbert is not on the.
Yeah, no, he transferred somewhere else. He was at Georgia.
Yeah.
And I never saw the field.
I should know actually where he went. We discussed it actually in our Discord.
Was it Texas he was going to? Maybe I don't. He started LSU, then he went to Georgia. I don't know where he's going.
Just checking now because I do want to know it now.
Yeah, it's. Do you think there's a drop off after Kincaid and Mayer to like Laporta, or do you put them at the same level?
No, I think there's a little bit of a drop off, not much. Kincaid and Mayer, I'd take in the first round. Then you get to Musgrave, Washington, Laporta. I'd take second round. I would take Musgrave and Washington top of the second, but I wouldn't take him in the first.
Okay, so you take Musgrave above Laporta or Washington? Yeah,
I got it ranked Mayer, Kincaid, Musgrave, Washington.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Musgrave is a better blocker than those we just talked about, right?
Yeah, Musgrave's a really good blocker, and he's a really good athlete.
Yeah,
really good athlete. Look, I mean, he was man amongst boys at the Senior Bowl in the one-on-ones. He was just unguardable.
What I was thinking about too was Darnell Washington. He didn't have a lot of targets actually this year, but he's still seen as a very good receiving tight end. I'm wondering what's why actually.
I really don't know. I think Darnell Washington's a tight end too, a career tight end too, which he can be a really good tight end too. But I don't ever think he's your featured tight end. I think Monken had it right, and a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it's only because Brock Bowers was there. He's number 2." No, I think there was a reason for that. I think he was tight end too. I mean, he's a good run blocker. I don't know, but when you get him one-on-one, I've seen him a lot of one-on-one with edge rushers. He just gets beat.
Yeah.
It was never the main focus. Like you said, never the main focus in the passing game at Georgia. I think the role they had him in at Georgia is probably the role he needs to be in the NFL.
Yeah, indeed. So you actually need to have a tight end in place and Washington to back him up.
Yep. And maybe you can run a lot more 12 personnel, 2 tight end looks with Washington on the field.
Yeah. The one guy we didn't talk about yet is Samuel Porta then. What do you think of him?
I like him a lot. I think he's a little undersized though for a tight end. He's just I think 6'4", 240, which is by no means a small human being, but I think he's a little small for a tight end. Man, I think, to be honest with you, I might end up putting Kuntz above Zach Kuntz from Old Dominion over Laporta. Kuntz hung around my list all year. I didn't get to see production from him this year, but like you said, there is a drop off after that top 4, and why not bet on an athletic freak like Kuntz, who's also 260 pounds.
Yeah, I just checked. He's quite
right.
He's quite fast too. He's like 4:45.
Yeah, he scored a 10 on the RAS. He's he's the most athletic tight end prospect they ever tested.
Yeah, I think this guy benefited really well from the combine. I think he got like the most hype after the combine, with the name popping up all over the place.
Yeah, he was like my tight end 8 all season, but he was hurt a lot of the year, so we really didn't see him play, which is why I really didn't move him up. But I knew he was going to test incredibly well. I didn't think he was going to be all-time legendary performance, but yeah, he's no doubt an athlete.
Is that why you put Sam Laporta a bit lower on the board because of his size?
That's really about it. Sam Laporta is a really good athlete. He really is. But Kuntz has got 20 pounds on him and is more athletic.
Really depends on what you're looking for in a tight end, right?
Yeah, that's really all it depends. But just for me personally, I'd probably get called crazy for that because a lot of people like Laporta, and I do too. I just like Kuntz a little more.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah. I think I thought it was like a really nice summary on tight ends. We touched upon all of them. Maybe to take the time into account a little bit more. I think we can go over to the offensive line because there's a lot of prospects on there as well, which will get a lot of hype. And I think if we're talking hype on offensive linemen, you're talking. Well, let's start with the inside first. Cyrus Torrance. That guy was built in a lab. Yeah. That's actually what the most common comment on Cyrus Torrance is. Wide build, quick to read twists. And he can move men against their will, which is then because of that it's impossible to disengage from. So, guy, amazing. That's just the one thing you can say to him. Of course, a little bit. The knock on him is like the mentality. Like John Michael Schmitz has it, but Cyrus Torrance has a little bit less of that very people mentality, which you can sometimes look for in a guard. And the range is not too great as well, which could be strange for someone his size. But those are like the 2 cents I have on Cyrus Torrance. I don't know if you guys have a lot of.
He also struggles a bit with double team blocks. So he's a very good player, but he still needs to develop himself, I think. I get what you're saying. He's probably the best guard in this class. But is he better than what we had the last few years? I don't know.
I kind of agree with both of those points. The thing that impressed me most with Torrance, though, is he was at Louisiana last year. not LSU, but like the Raging Cajuns, Louisiana, and playing lower tier competition. And then you would expect him to struggle jumping to Florida playing SEC competition every week, but he didn't. I mean, he was dominant all year. That being said, I don't know where you put him at, man, because interior offensive line isn't a valuable position, but it's a weak. Well, I mean, it's not a weak center class, but it's a weak guard class. There's not a lot of good guards in this class.
No, it's like two, and then I
then it's a drop off.
Yeah, indeed.
Is he the athlete? I mean, I don't know if you guys seen the other day. I did a rundown. I went and I calculated every RAS for every position in the last 5 years, and your interior offensive line had the highest RAS scores if they were taken in the first round. Because if you're going to take that kind of lower valuable position in the first round, they have to be like a top tier type athlete worth betting on. And I don't know if Torrance is that. But at the same time, if you need one and he's there at 21, why not take him, or 20, or whenever you're going to go? I like him a lot, but it's just, I think he could get reached on and not have a good career people expect him to have.
Would you say Torrance is clearly above Steve Avila or not?
I would say yeah, but not. I don't think the gap is so wide. Is it? You know, I've seen Torrance mocked at 15 and then Avila at 44. I'd much rather have Avila at 44 than Torrance at 15. But now, if we in the second round, I could get Torrance at 33. I'd rather have Torrance at 33 than Avila at 44. If that makes any. You kind of get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah, so just I think they're about 10 spots apart. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think we can agree that the guard class is not that good.
After that, it's just I wouldn't take another guard to day 3.
So if you want a guard, you'll need to be betting on those two. Otherwise, it's probably a bench player.
Yeah, the center class is probably a little bit deeper too. Like, you have a few guys, but I think the ranking in there is like all over the place. I've seen John Michael Schmitz going first. I've then seen Luke Whippler, Joe Tittman sneaking into the first round recently. I don't know whose mock draft it was, but he went to the first. I think he went to the Giants. What's your take on that class?
It's a really good center class. Like you said, you got John Michael Schmitz, you got Luke Whippler, Joe Tittman, Olu from Michigan. I'm not going to pronounce his last name, not pronounce, but those are 4 guys I think could start really right away. Tittman's a really good athlete. I think Schmitz would be my number 1, and Tittman too. But kind of like what I was talking about with, you know, if you're going to take an interior offensive lineman in the first round, Tittman's the type of athlete you would do that with. He's very explosive. But yeah, it's a great center class overall.
Yeah, I don't know if a center is going in the first round though. It seems like kind of a reach.
It is. I've seen a lot. A popular mock is John Michael Smith to Seattle at 20. I don't see that.
I saw a lot of Giants picking a center, but yeah, at the position they're in, I think they better trade back to get that center instead of taking him at that spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a valuable position, man. You know, it's just not. You can pick up a guy in the 3rd round that can start for you. He might not be great, but he can fill that hole. And it's a cheap to replace. I mean, I think the average center only makes like $11 million a year. Maybe not even that. It's a very cheap position to fill. So I don't know if it's worth a first round pick.
Yeah, I had John Michael going to the Steelers as in the first pick of the 2nd round. Like, we did a big mock draft on it. Like, they're in need of a center. And then I like John Michael Schmidt's best of the 3 we just discussed. But like moving on to the offensive, like maybe a bit more to the edges, I think the class we're seeing there is like either a little bit debatable on who you're picking at for picking at 1, but like the talent you have on the first in that class is like off the charts. Who do you have as tackle 1?
I got Skoronski, but I mean, I've seen a lot of people started ranking him as an interior offensive lineman. because of the arm length, which is a real concern. He's got 32.25-inch arms. Your average edge since 2019, his arms are 34 inches. So, I mean, he's automatically at a disadvantage. I think he just takes Skoronski as OT1 just because you can plug him anywhere. I think he can play offensive tackle if you need him to. I think his better spot would be interior offensive line, but he could be like Jonah Williams. Jonah Williams has been serviceable forever, it seems like.
Yeah, but I have Peter Skoronski as my first tackle too, but I'm just like thinking about it, about what you're saying. He's serviceable, but is that worth your first round pick, especially your top 10 pick?
Yeah, I get
Because
that too.
I see him mocked a lot to Chicago, but is it worth your 9th pick just to have a serviceable guy?
Yeah, that's the big debate on him. And we just sat here and talked about how cheap interior offensive line is. Is that worth the top 10 pick if you're going to move an interior offensive line?
Yeah.
Which now I think Peter Skoronski could be like an all-pro in interior offensive line. I think he's that good. I think he would be good at tackle, a fringe good tackle, but I think he would be an elite interior offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, his
So
tape is incredible.
Actually, you could say there are 3 guards.
Yeah. Like I said, and I've seen a lot of people starting to rank Skoronski as a guard. They don't have him with the tackles anymore.
No. Yeah, probably. Yeah, because they have a bit of information.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's where teams are talking about playing him. I don't know. But I don't have those hookups, so I'm going to keep ranking him as a tackle.
So if a team really wants a pure tackle, they better go with Paris Johnson then.
Yeah, I think that would be the way. But if you're like, let's just say your Eagles, who have Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, and you could plug in maybe Skoronski at guard, just fill that guy y'all lost this year. I can't pronounce his name. Isaac something.
Seumalo.
Yeah. Maybe you take him top 10 and just plug him in right away, so there's no drop off. Maybe that's worth a top 10 pick to you.
Yeah, I think it could be, but at 10 I like a defensive player more.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's for another podcast. Yeah, I think Paris Johnson Jr. has a shot at going above Skoronski exactly because of what we talked about. He's bigger, and he has I think he has crazy long arms.
36 inches.
Yeah, that's him who has long arms. So I think if Chicago really wants a tackle, they'll go Paris Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, his tape's spotty, but he definitely has the most upside. I mean, it was his first year starting at tackle, and it wasn't a bad year. He didn't have a bad year by any means. It just wasn't elite. It wasn't great. His tape was kind of up and down, but he's a young guy. He's 21 years old.
Yeah, and actually you can play him at left tackle or at right tackle, so you have a very versatile player.
And he played a little bit of guard. He played right guard last year, so he has that. He has experience playing on the interior too. Although I think he's strictly a tackle.
Yeah, I saw him playing against Georgia, and I think I sent a piece of tape to you, Alexis, as well, of him engaging with an edge and then just picking up another guy who's just coming straight off the right side and just handling 2 people like it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, good feet. He's got great feet. His kick slides look good. It's just his hand placement can be spotty. That's really the only thing you can. Which a good offensive line coach will fix that.
Yeah, I think there's no problem in the NFL for him.
Yeah. Going on to the third one, I think the drop off after that is a little bit debatable. You could say it's still a strong class, but drop off over there.
I don't think there's a drop off between Paris Johnson and Darnell Wright. That's my opinion.
You have Darnell Wright as 3.
I do as well.
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Darnell Wright as 3.
Yeah. Actually, why I started going into Darnell Wright at 3 is the Alabama game. He was just keeping Will Anderson out of the game, and we're talking about Will Anderson later on. But Will Anderson is the best edge in college, and Darnell Wright kept him out of the game. So that triggered me to look further into Darnell Wright, and yeah, he's very big, he's strong, he's quick on his feet, and he has a high football IQ. I mean, he knows immediately when to adjust, and that's why I'm looking for in an offensive tackle.
Yeah, 100% agree. I watched that Bama game live, and then I got the 22 all 22 film where I could just watch Will Anderson Jr. and he stonewalled him for 4 quarters. I mean, he said Will Anderson Jr.'s top 3 pick, no doubt edge one, and Darnell Wright shut him down for 4 quarters. Um,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
just
think he's as
Correct.
versatile as Paris Johnson. He played left tackle. Darnell Wright played left tackle last year, and he wasn't as good. I think he's a right tackle only. I think that's kind of the edge Paris Johnson has on him. I'm with Alexi. I don't think there's a big drop off between Johnson and Wright. I think Wright would be the better day one starter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. If you're
Yeah,
looking for just one tackle position like right tackle, then you could go down right.
Yeah, it's just the knock I had on him was just the run game could improve, but as you said, with Barrett Johnson, with a good offensive line coach, you could improve on those points. So indeed, yeah, the drop of maybe not that as great as I mentioned, but yeah, we'll have to see. And then four, the board is a little bit all over the place. Who do you guys have as four?
Go ahead. I got Anton Harrison for.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I
So
mean, he's just one of the best. I think he's the best pure pass blocker in the class. He's got good feet. His technique's perfect. His hand placement's always right. I just don't think he has the athletic upside of the guys we've mentioned before. With obviously Broderick Jones, we're going to talk about him in a minute. Kind of makes me want to put him above Antoine just because of the upside. But Antoine, he's going to be one of them guys. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have watched football. You remember DeBrickashaw Ferguson? He's played for the Jets, offensive tackle.
I don't.
He was first round pick, and he was never amazing, but he was just really good his whole career. Just always solid, always. And I think that's what Anton Harrison can be.
Yeah, I completely agree with Anton Harrison being the fourth tackle actually of the board. So because of everything you just said, the one thing I could like say a bad thing about him is like his run blocking ability is not that great. So if you're a running team like like the Colts do with Jonathan Taylor, then you may not go Anton Harrison.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's why I said pass blocking. I think he's the best. And run blocking, no, he's nowhere near the best run blocker in the class. But as a pass blocker, yeah, I think he's the best.
Yeah.
One guy we haven't heard today is Broderick Jones, and I wanted to highlight him still. I think we're 4 tackles in, but Broderick Jones deserves a mention here as well. I like him a lot. Okay, he's from Georgia, but it's more because it's not just because he's from Georgia, but the things he has, like premium athletic qualities and quick recognition of the twist attempts coming his way, loose hips, quick feet, and like those are premium qualities I think for a tackle. Of course, he has a little bit of a limited experience. I think he started about 19 games it was for Georgia. So that's maybe the knock you have on him. But the other things, I saw him as I saw some mocks having him as the first tackle off the board. Maybe some big boards even have him as a top tackle.
Yeah, I've seen that often.
Yeah, why is he put as first tackle on those big boards according to you?
Well, kind of what you just said is the athletic upside. He's kind of the Anthony Richardson of the OT class. He's polarizing because he hadn't started a lot of games, but man, the guy plays pissed off, which I love. He said loose hips. He's got good feet. It's just his hand placements everywhere. It is all types of inconsistent. When I was watching summer scouting, he had a really good game against Will Anderson, that national championship. I think that was the first game he'd ever started, or one of the first, and had a really good game against Will Anderson Jr. So he's polarizing, man. And some people are going to love him, some people aren't going to like him as much. Like I said, I could see having him above Anton Harrison when I'm, do my final rankings, but he's got Paris Johnson type upside.
One thing I want to say about him though is his play strength. I think it needs to improve because he's quite big, so he has the potential to develop into a very strong starter. But his play strength is something he'll need to develop for being a pro.
Yeah, he does need to get a little stronger. But I mean, at the same time, you think he's 20 years old. He's
Yeah,
probably still got a lot of maturing to
of
do.
course, he has all the opportunities to do so.
Yeah, I mean, it's he's still got 4 years to his brain's fully developed. I'm sure it's the same with his body as well.
I just mentioned that because you can't expect him to be a day one starter and make a big impact in his first season. I think you need to let him grow a bit into your team. Okay.
All right. I think that wraps up tackles. Unless you, Bryce or Alexis, have one other tackle you want to still highlight as a nice late round pickup for
DeJuan Jones, because his size.
Yeah.
He's just huge and very, very heavy. He's 374, I see. If you have that as your lineman and he has good abilities, a late round prospect for me. Not even late round, like fourth round is fine.
I mean, I worry with guys that big because we don't see guys that big. I've never seen a guy that big, and there's got to be a reason for that. That's my big thing with it. Now, you had that guy last year out of Minnesota. He went to the Ravens.
Of course, because his size, he's a bit less athletic. That's the downside of him, of course.
Yeah.
But
Daniel
I think
Fluil.
Was that
from Minnesota?
Went to the Ravens. 6'9", 400 pounds, big dude.
That's possible.
I can't think of his name, but yeah, I mean, look, DeJuan Jones got good tape. I mean, if he gets his hands on you, it's over with. Forget about it. You're not getting by him.
That's what I mean. If you still need a tackle and you're into the third, fourth round, DeJuan Jones is there. I'd say take a shot.
I think DeJuan Jones is going top 50, to be honest.
Oh, so second round. Okay.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him go late first, but probably early second. Where I think he's good. Now, is it worth it there? I don't know, but I think that's where he goes.
Yeah, I completely understand. I would take him in the third, if to be honest, because of his athleticism. That's not that good. But yeah, if somebody likes him more than that, especially the first 5 tackles will be gone by the end of the first round. So he will be the first tackle of the board after that. So probably second round, like you say.
Okay, I think that wraps the tackle class up pretty nicely. I think we're 1 hour 30 into the offensive analysis, and I think we kept it short sometimes.
Yeah, you had to rein us in there a few times.
Yeah, sometimes, but yeah, some classes are very good. Like the running back class, you could keep talking on for a few more minutes, and even the tackle class, there's still some guys on the board who deserve some attention. But I think this wraps it up nicely. I think for the viewers who are still listening at 1 hour 32, 33, thank you for bearing with us. We're wrapping this up over here. Now we'll switch back to Dutch. Dus aan iedereen bedankt dat jullie zo lang met ons hebben meegeluisterd. Dit was deel 1 van de grote analyse, de deep dive voor alle prospects. Wij komen later deze week bij jullie nog terug voor een deel 2. Maar tot nu, dankjewel voor jullie aandacht en we horen jullie wel tijdens Draft Night. Bye bye.